The secret billionaires don't want you to know. Have you ever wondered, why do some people rise from nothing, while others stay stuck no matter how hard they work? Why is it that a few individuals seem to hold the keys to unimaginable wealth, freedom, and influence? And what is the hidden truth that billionaires quietly protect, a truth they rarely speak about in public? This is not about luck or being born rich. This is about a principle, a mindset, and a way of looking at life that changes everything. Because here's the secret: the greatest wealth is not created by working harder, but by thinking differently. Let me take you back to the story of Daniel, a young man born in a small neighborhood, surrounded by scarcity and struggle. His parents worked long hours, barely making enough to survive. Growing up, Daniel was taught the same lesson most of us hear: go to school, get a job, work hard, and someday you'll be secure. But Daniel had a question burning inside him: if hard work is the key, why do I see poor people working the hardest? This doubt kept growing inside him, and the more he observed, the clearer it became. He noticed the factory workers, sweating 12 hours a day, barely feeding their families. He noticed the shop owners, stressed and exhausted, yet still struggling to pay rent. And then he noticed something else: the wealthy businessman driving past in a luxury car, calm, smiling, and seemingly free. Daniel realized there must be a secret, a truth the wealthy knew, that the poor and middle class did not. One evening, Daniel met an old mentor, a man named Mr. Carter. Unlike the rest, Carter didn't just talk about hard work, he talked about leverage, mindset, and the invisible rules of money. Daniel, he said slowly, the rich don't trade time for money. They build systems, they buy assets, they make money work for them. That sentence shook Daniel's world. He suddenly understood why people remained stuck. Most people trade their hours for a paycheck. But the wealthy, they buy back their time. They let money, people, and systems multiply their efforts. And here was the first secret Daniel uncovered: it's not about working harder, it's about building something that works even when you don't. Daniel began to see the world differently. He noticed how advertisements and schools condition people to be consumers, not creators. He saw how banks taught people to save pennies, while the rich invested dollars. He realized how fear controlled the masses: fear of failure, fear of risk, fear of stepping outside the path everyone else followed. But Carter reminded him, the path everyone follows leads to average results. If you want extraordinary, you must walk where few dare to go. This hit Daniel deeply. He recognized that the biggest prison wasn't money, it was mindset. And here was the second secret. Billionaires guard not money, but knowledge. They know that once you learn how wealth really works, you can never be controlled again. Daniel started small. He didn't have much money, but he had curiosity, courage, and the willingness to learn. Instead of wasting nights scrolling or complaining, he devoured books on wealth, mindset, and personal growth. He listened to stories of entrepreneurs who failed again and again, yet kept rising stronger. One phrase stayed with him: don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. So Daniel worked not just on making money, but on making himself valuable. He learned new skills, built relationships, and shifted his thinking from scarcity to abundance. It wasn't easy. People laughed at him, friends called him crazy, even his family said, stop dreaming, just be realistic. But Daniel understood, every dream looks impossible until it's done. One day, Carter shared with Daniel the truth that billionaires never say out loud. He leaned in and whispered, Daniel, wealth is a game of perception. The poor chase money, the rich chase opportunities. That sentence was like fire. Daniel finally understood, money itself isn't the goal, money is only a tool. What matters is how you use it. While most people spend money on things that fade, the wealthy spend money on things that multiply. The poor buy liabilities, the rich buy assets. The poor chase jobs, the rich build networks. The poor think of today, the rich think of decades. And then came the third secret: billionaires don't focus on earning more, they focus on owning more. But here's the truth: Every journey to wealth is filled with storms. Daniel lost money in his first investment. He trusted the wrong partner and faced betrayal. He felt the sting of failure, the weight of doubt. One night, sitting alone, he whispered, "Maybe they were right. Maybe I should just quit." But then he remembered Carter's words, "Failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of success." Daniel rose again. Stronger, wiser, sharper. He learned that every failure carries a seed of knowledge. Every setback is simply a test, and here lies the fourth secret. The reason most people never reach wealth is not lack of opportunity, but because they quit too soon. Years passed. Daniel built businesses, invested smartly, and grew into the man he once dreamed of becoming. But he never forgot the lessons Carter taught him. He realized, billionaires are not magicians. They simply see the world differently. They understand leverage, mindset, patience, and above all, they refuse to stop when things get hard. And so, Daniel finally uncovered the greatest secret of all: wealth is not about money, it's about freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to create, freedom to live life on your terms. One evening, years later, Daniel asked Carter one last question: why don't billionaires openly share these truths with the world? Carter smiled sadly and replied, because the system runs on ignorance. If everyone knew how wealth truly works, who would keep working endless hours, paying debts, and chasing illusions? The wealthy know, control the mind, and you control the man. Daniel finally understood. It was never about hiding money, it was about hiding knowledge. And that's why so few escape the cycle, not because they can't, but because they never learn the rules of the game. The fifth secret was clear: the biggest secret billionaires protect is that anyone, yes, anyone, can rise, if they dare to think differently. Daniel began to teach others. He didn't keep the knowledge for himself. He spoke to young dreamers, to struggling workers, to anyone willing to listen. He told them, stop chasing only money, start chasing growth. Stop fearing risk, start fearing regret. Stop asking what if I fail, start asking what if I succeed. And slowly, he saw lives transform. Not because of a magic formula, but because of a shift in belief. Once people realized the truth, they could no longer be controlled. They started creating, building, and living beyond survival. Now, I must ask you, the listener, will you continue living by the script handed to you? Or will you write your own story? Will you keep trading time for money, or will you learn to make money work for you? Will you let fear hold you back, or will you dare to think differently? Because here's the truth: you don't need to be born rich, you don't need to have special luck, you only need courage to see what others refuse to see. The secret is already here. The question is, will you use it? Remember this: billionaires don't own the secret, they simply practice it. Wealth begins not in your pocket, but in your mind. And the real treasure isn't money, it's freedom. So dare to step outside the ordinary. Dare to dream bigger. Dare to live differently, because one day, when you look back, you won't regret the risks you took, you'll only regret the chances you never gave yourself. This is the secret billionaires don't want you to know. And now you know the truth: the secret billionaires rarely share. Remember, wealth isn't about luck or background, it begins with how you think. If this story inspired you, don't keep it to yourself, share it, because someone you know needs this message today. And if you want more stories that awaken your mind and fuel your growth, subscribe to this channel, and join us on this journey. Here we learn, aspire, master, reflect, and evolve together.